What if I told you a list exists? A list that powerful people never wanted you to see. It is not a rumor, it is not a conspiracy, but real court documents, real names. Yes, these are the Epstein files, the files that refuse to disappear. Who was Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein was a wealthy financier with connections to many powerful and wealthy people. Now, he was born in 1953 in New York, where he worked as a teacher and then later he entered into finance. He was first convicted in 2008 in Florida on state charges which were related to procuring minors for prostitution, or you can say minor sex trafficking, where he served a very short sentence of 13 months and was also given many work release privileges. It was a very controversial plea. Now again in July 2019 he was arrested again on federal charges. In 2008 he was convicted of those charges, but in 2019 he was just arrested on those federal charges. These charges were similar to the conviction of 2008, which was sex trafficking, which involving minors or minor sex trafficking. But there something mysterious happened. In August 2019, when he was arrested and he was in the jail, Epstein died by suicide, and he hung himself in jail on 10th of August before his federal trial could even start. When the questions were raised, how did this happen? What went wrong? The answer that was given was merely the security cameras failed or the guard failed to check on him, which created controversy, which created a lot of heated argument whether it was a suicide or not. He also had a close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was also convicted in 2021 of helping Epstein in recruiting and grooming the victims, and currently he is serving a long sentence. Every day we are hearing this word Epstein files in the news. Every single day we have somebody connected with these files. But what exactly are these files? Let's see what the Epstein files are. The Epstein files are a massive collection of documents, emails, photos, videos, and all the investigative material that is related to the criminal case of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, these include all the court recordings, all the filings, all investigative files that are submitted by the FBI or Department of Justice, all the flight logs, all contact lists, emails, photographs, videos, most importantly, witness testimonies, victim statements, and all the digital evidence that was collected by the authorities. But why are these files in the news now? Why are people making an issue now? For many years, a lot of the material that we are receiving now was concealed, it was sealed, and only partially or only itty-bitty portions were released because the victims were to be legally protected and the investigation was still ongoing. But in the late 2025, the US Congress, it passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which required the Justice Department to release all the unclassified records or all the unclassified documents which were related to Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. On December 19, 2025, hundreds of thousands of pages were released publicly, which included some photos and some court material. But on January 30, 2026, which is this year only, the Justice Department released many millions of pages, many things which included images and videos related to the case. Now, why these files matter, or why have these files come into come into the public eye or the public attention, these files have actually drawn a lot of attention on themselves, is because many high profile figures, like political leaders, celebrities, business people, their names were mentioned. And it created a lot of controversy whether such high profile people or people who are on top of the leadership are involved in such a heinous crime. However, the presence in the files, the presence of names in the files, does not prove any wrongdoing at the moment. But why does these files matter? Epstein files prove that Epstein had a vast influence. They had a huge connection, huge agency. It provides greater public insight into the criminal case. It basically tells you that how minors were trafficked, how such case is important for the world to know. It raises questions on government transparency. It raises question on the failure of system and the power struggle that we have in our society, that leaders and people with high influence can get away with anything. It also proves that power delays justice. It silences the predators. For many years, the survivors were ignored. Even if they were telling the truth, even if they were telling the story, nobody was ready to hear it at that time. In the obsession over names, one thing definitely gets lost, and those are the victims. Young girls were trafficked, they were silenced and threatened. They were disbelieved, nobody believed their story. This is definitely not at all a celebrity gossip. It is a very, very empowering story about abuse, about power, and about accountability. Epstein files aren't really the end of the story. They are just the beginnings of uncomfortable conversations, of uncomfortable questions raised to the government, the oppression that powerful people create on people below them, on women, on children. If you really think that secrecy and silence makes the country, makes the people stronger, it definitely does not. Transparency doesn't destroy the society, but secrecy always, always, always does. And yeah, if you want deeper breakdown of crime, power, and justice, subscribe and follow along, because silence should never protect predators.